Good morning and welcome to Order Up, the Final Order Cutoff show. Today we're talking about all the comics on Final Order Cutoff this Monday, December 15th. And let me tell you, there are a lot of them. This is a week full of Godzilla, full of reprints, and full of facsimiles, and yet none of these are things you want to miss. So stay tuned. We have an incredible special guest, and you will not want to miss out after this opener.
Hi everyone, I'm Mathias Lewis, and I'm here to talk to you about FOC, or Final Order Cutoff. It is the last chance that we, the comic retailers, have to finalize our orders for comics releasing roughly 3 to 6 weeks out from the Mondays we finalize our orders. We deal with this every Monday, but this is important to you, the consumer, because it is the perfect time to reach out to your local comic shop if you want any specific or guaranteed items. If you want the Jim Lee or Dan Mora covers of Justice League Unlimited, reach out to your local comic shop and let us know. If you want the new issue of Lilo and Stitch, this is the perfect time to tell us. Because as long as you can get us the orders before Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that will give your local comic shop retailer enough time to finalize that order, adding in whatever it is you want, so they can guarantee when it releases, we have a copy set aside waiting for you. So, always reach out to your local comic shop before 6 p.m. on Mondays with the comics you want. The sooner, the better, to guarantee they're waiting for you.
And we have some incredible comics on FOC this week, ending Monday, December 15th. I'm excited about this. It's going to be some weird conversation, but I think that makes the best show.
Well, and it's a little bit of a lighter week again. Because again, we have skip weeks, we have holiday, that kind of stuff. So like, there's not a ton at Lunar, and like, there's only like 260 things at PRH. So it's a much lighter week to go through, but some of the stuff is much more interesting, I think, than we've seen in a few weeks.
Yeah, and well, it is lighter. It is lighter in the respects to new releases. We have a large amount of facsimiles. We have a ridiculous amount of reprints, but those reprints are, of course, being reprinted because they're hot books. And some of them have some good and interesting twists on them. I'd say there's at least one that makes it to our top 10 this week. Contemplating that one.
I don't actually remember what's in the top 10.
It's okay.
It's been a weird morning.
All right. So let's remind everyone where they can see everything that's on FOC, because we're going to talk about the big releases, the hot books, the amazing covers, and more. But if you want to see everything, if you're a fan of Marvel, Dark Horse, IDW, Distillery, Ignition Press, Boom Studios, Square Enix, Kodansha, and more, you're going to want to go to prhcomics.com. That is the home of Penguin Random House, and it will have all of the comics that they distribute on prhcomics.com. You'll see a simple website like this, and they know what to do. They keep their FOC right at the top here. You'll click this, and that will bring you over to an organized little website like that. Sort A to Z, and you can see everything on FOC this week. But if you're thinking, my problem is I want to see DC, I want to see Image, Dynamite, Oni, and more. For that, you're going to want to check lunardistribution.com. Lunar is one of the main distributors for those incredible publishers and probably the best FOC website for them. So go to lunardistribution.com. There you'll have to scroll down a little bit to upcoming FOC. Make sure you're clicking on the right day, and you can already see some amazing things we'll be talking about a little bit later. But that being said, I like to start at PRH. I don't know. Maybe it's the reverse alphabetic of it all, all, but
I think it's do the big bit first.
Yeah.
Get through the biggest chunk and then work your way backwards, I think.
Sounds good. So shall we dive right in?
Let's do it.
Okay. So first off, numerically, we dive back to the founding of the United States of America with 1776. Issue number 3 is on FOC, and I love our great Gwen Stacy's comment that all spiders are created equal. I mean, yeah, you got the book right there in hand. I mean, have you read it yet?
Well, oh yeah, but this is just the foil that I picked up this week because I hadn't seen this one in person. Yeah. And I'm like, ooh, I need the foil. So this is the foil version of number 1. Absolutely. I liked it. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it says I'm getting older, but I'm not as big of a fan of alternative histories as I used to be. This one, I'm excited for number 2 to see how I really feel. Yeah. And number 3, though, some of these covers look incredible, so I'll at least be in for 3 issues. So I just can't wait for Mr. Feeney to show up as John Adams, is all I'm saying.
I will say this, though, look, we have the Declaration of Independence right there on this incredible Phil Jimenez cover doing the homage to his amazing Spider-Man of Barack Obama cover. And I am glad that Gwen wasn't there to say all spiders are created equal because, look, I love equality. Dude, some spiders got venom. Some spiders have long, hairy legs. There's a lot of differences in spiders that I don't need their equality as they're invading my house and crawling all over me, eating the flies and everything like that. Look, they have their purpose, but we don't need them in the Declaration of Independence. Save that for the humans. So this is where we get in trouble right here with that one. But yeah, a lot of amazing covers on 1776, and another one where we have to finalize our orders for issue number 3 before issue number 2 comes out. Why it is very important to reach out and communicate with your retailer and let them know on things you'd like. Moving forward, though, we have an annual. Amazing Spider-Man gets its first annual of 2026 as that releases in January on the 28th. And the thing I'm excited about on this is it's the return of Rapid. Rapid is the character that was created by Chip Zdarsky in the Giant Size Amazing Spider-Man last year. So we get him back with a new story by Saladin Ahmed. Joe Kelly, our main ASM writer, has also got a story, and a few other creators. Should be fun. I think we even get to have Screwball, who's not somebody we get to see as much in modern comics, back. So should be a fun little bit of spider stuff, not tying directly into the main ASM.
If you're going to bring back Screwball, you need to bring back Four Bushman.
That might happen.
I understand. I'm waiting. I was promised a thing by a person who can make it happen, and it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm just trying to get myself drawn into a Marvel comic with a pot on my head.
There it is.
And it hasn't happened. That also hasn't happened yet. So who knows? Maybe these are just lies to get me to shut up.
I think the problem is you just don't have a pot on your head enough.
There's not one close by.
There you go. Take the opportunity next time. Take the initiative. Much like the protagonist of Ayaka is in love with Hiroko. Ayaka is in love with Hiroko is one of these really cool mangas that started out on Twitter. And that's kind of a weird growing phase in Japanese comics. We're seeing creators that start self-publishing themselves on Twitter. Things like Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You, one of my absolute favorite manga ever, and is a new release on FOC this week. Ayaka is in love with Hiroko is the story of a young woman who is obsessed with her boss. Unfortunately, her boss seems to completely miss every advance she makes. This blew up on Twitter, is now picked up for English release in Tokyo Pop, but it led to a big manga release in Japan. And I like that we're seeing this. I'm waiting for such a similar thing to happen in America. We're seeing things like, web comics, now webtoons that develop into big comic releases. And sometimes will get readership far beyond Marvel and DC releases. But this is something that we're particularly seeing heavily in Japan, and I'm hoping to start seeing in America. I really would love to see people finding new ways to break into the medium of published sequential artwork.
It's happened in places that I know of. Like, again, R.L. Stine was writing some of his what would go on to be the Goosebumps comic book as just prose horror that he was posting on Twitter. It wasn't necessarily designed to be like a comic book like this was. Like this was intended to be this form, right? That was just a guy writing stories. You've had some other writers who have had stuff adapted into either movies, film, or prose novels that were short form, back in the 160 character days, concepts. So we've had it happen, but not quite like this. And I think this is a really important step to take.
All right, I got to go back to that one. I'm hung up because I know you personally know R.L. Stine. Did you say R.L. Stine's Goosebumps started on Twitter?
What would go on to be the Goosebumps comic books.
Oh, the Goosebumps comic books.
From 2017, 2018.
That makes more sense. All right.
Yeah. Not like they had stopped publishing the novels, like they were just republishing the old ones. And he was on Twitter just writing 160 character scary stories.
Okay.
And those are what eventually fed into what would become the comic books.
Yeah. All right. So on that note, obviously, we just talked manga. I got to talk about Blue Lock 27. If you're not reading Blue Lock, you need to prepare yourself for the World Cup with perhaps the greatest soccer/football manga ever made. But let's talk about something that's a bit more all ages. And for that, I got to turn to you, Kyle. The Boy Who Cried Robots.
So The Boy Who Cried Robots is a book from a series of books, and you can see it in the corner of the cover. I like to read comics. I like to read comics as like an umbrella for a bunch of books, including things like Wiggler's Big Joke, which is also on FOC this week. Wait, a Minotaur. Tate Tuber's Space Spud. A lot of these really fun all ages graphic novels that are out there. This is a modern play on The Boy Who Cried Wolf, except it's The Boy Who Cried Robots. The main character claims that there are aliens and that they've named planets after him, that his bathtub is full of alligators, that a monster ate his homework. But when robots show up and attack his house, because he's always exaggerating stories, nobody really believes him. So it's The Boy Who Cried Wolf, but with robots.
I love it. I do love the I like to read comics brand, because as a parent, trying to get your kid to read sometimes can be a little bit harder. The various books out there that use popular licensed characters and others to convince kids to read prose are amazing tools, and they're often available through Penguin Random House to comic shops. But they're prose. This is sequential art. This is a comic book, and I love that. So this is teaching kids to read with the thing that we all adore. The reason I imagine if you're watching this, you love comic books. So you get to see sequential art with basic word structures and sentences that make it easy for people who are learning to read or perhaps learning to read English to pick things up.
Yeah. This one, it says, is written at about a second grade level. It's perfect for second graders. But if you have a younger kid who's maybe a little bit more of a advanced reader, because you've been reading comic books with them since they were 2.5, me. Anyway, like they might be able to pick this up a little sooner. Or again, if you have somebody who struggles with reading, well, now you've got a comic book. You've got this story that even if you're not reading the book with them, you know how the story goes. It's The Boy Who Cried Wolf. We all know it. Like that you can help them understand what's happening without having to sit there necessarily with them and work it all out. So it's a good mix.
Absolutely. It is available in hardcover and softcover, so you can let your retailer know which one you want. Or if you are a retailer looking to stock this in and expanding young readers or new readers section, there are multiple ways to do so. Now, I mentioned there are a lot of reprints and facsimiles on this week's FOC, and there are. And they are some of the best books. Chip Zdarsky's Captain America is amazing, but it is sold out, and now we have a third printing of number one, a third printing of number two, a second printing of number three, a second printing of number four, and yes, we're keeping it up, a second printing of number five to get you all caught up on any issues you might be missing, because this is a great run, and I honestly believe if you are a Captain America fan, you should be reading this weird tale of a Canadian scripting America's greatest hero.
It is a great run, but I'll be real honest.
Mm-hmm.
This is on so many printings because a publisher was scared to take a shot. You have one of the hottest comic writers going, taking on one of the most iconic characters ever. Maybe overprint in a big way so that people can still get first prints. Or maybe we're only on a second print. You know, this was somebody being conservative and trying to save $1 that now it looks like, yay, we've got all these massive sales and we're on to the 75th printing of this book. You don't have to be. Like, you could just say, we're still selling number ones at a record rate. You know, we're still selling first printings at a record rate. There is a way to do this that isn't this.
I will say I could get caught in this conversation for hours. I really could. And I will just quickly speak my piece. I think it is also more than just a financial conservatism because this is Disney, this is Marvel. They have the money to spend, but they sometimes have to argue the point that they are doing well. And by printing to demand, which is basically what is happening, is they're getting the orders in at final order cutoff and printing barely above that total. It is to guarantee more attention from the higher ups by saying, look, we keep selling out. We're making such popular stuff.
Right. We're making political and financial decisions rather than making decisions that are best for the community that is supporting
That
it.
create readers. Yes.
Right.
And that's what it should be, because the problem becomes, for those of you guys watching, you are our ideal customers because you let us know as retailers what you want to order, how much you want, what covers, and we can guarantee you your items. But the average person that walks into a store and perhaps isn't as knowledgeable as you, this is a great reason to put the show in front of them so they can guarantee they get their items, but they might miss out because a store might not order enough on the wall. It does sell out, and you're waiting for these later printings.
All that said, I do believe number one would have been on a second or third printing anyway. They could have printed 500,000 copies and they'd still have sold out. It was that good.
So on that note, let's talk about some more things that are hitting, second printings. Daredevil, Punisher, The Devil's Trigger. Oh my God, Jimmy Palmiotti is just, I am so glad he is writing as prolifically as he is in this modern era, because I am loving everything from Elvira meets Harley Quinn, which we'll be talking about Elvira and that title a little bit more later. But Daredevil and Punisher, this is awesome. And he's got two Punisher stories currently coming out. He not only has Devil's Trigger, but he has our Marvel Knights Punisher on top of that.
And you scrolled past it, but something that's going back to press that has been out of print for a while is the Daredevil Modern Era Epic Collection, the Murdoch Papers.
Yes.
So that's Bendis and Alex Maleev. It's an iconic Daredevil story. You're gonna recognize it if you've watched television at all. It's important. It's an important story. It's been out of print for a while. It's the Epic Edition. It's $50. It's a ton of books. It's Daredevil from 1998, 66 through 81. It's worth picking back up if you haven't been able to get it. And it's been out of print for 10 years or more.
Wouldn't shock me. Yeah, I mean,
probably 10 years, maybe a little longer.
Mm-hmm. All right. A lot of great continuing series. And again, I just feel like we're going to be talking about a lot of reprints today. But if you're a fan of the cult classic horror film Event Horizon, and you have not read its prequel, Dark Descent, you are missing out. This gives so much more context to this unbelievable film without ruining anything. You could see the formation, the building of the Event Horizon and its initial mission that went so wrong. And now we are getting final printings, not just new printings, but final printings of Dark Descent. Number 1 hits its 4th and final printing. Number 2 hits its 3rd and final printing. Number 3 hits its 2nd and final, as does the 4th, just in time to get you issue number 5, the big conclusion to Event Horizon Dark Descent. And it sounds like that will not be the end of the story of Event Horizon, amazingly, but it will be the end of this incredible prequel. This is hot off of new printings of number 1 and number 2 that hit stands this week and likely sold out because people like myself repurchased it with those beautiful new connecting covers. But man, I didn't think I was going to get dragged into this the way that I did. Like, look, I appreciate the Event Horizon movie. It horrified me, decades ago, and I appreciate rewatching it. But I wouldn't say I was the hugest fan of Event Horizon.
So I've never seen Event Horizon not on cable.
Well, oh, yeah, that's true too. But yeah, I picked up Event Horizon and I'm hooked. I am hooked with Dark Descent, and I cannot wait to see this wrap up in issue number 5. If you've ever been an Event Horizon fan, if you get the chance, it's streaming, go give it a watch. If you haven't seen it, it will mess with you. And then grab this comic because this is IDW horror doing it right. All right. Fantastic Four fans, if you have been sleeping on Ryan North's relaunch series, look, Fantastic Four, can be real hit or miss. For every Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Jonathan Hickman run, there are some ones that I won't name that don't land as well. The Fantastic First family that they are sometimes can be a little hard to write and a little hard to enjoy. But Ryan North and Humberto Ramos have been just knocking it out of the park with this current run. I am loving these issues. And if for any reason you can't track down the single issues at your local comic shop, get an order in on this trade paperback. It is fun. I mean, this is more enjoyable than the Fantastic Four movie. And I liked that movie. This isn't a knock towards the movie. This is just fun, easy to enter Fantastic Four storytelling.
And on this one, there is a direct market exclusive cover that is Alex Ross. So be on the lookout for that as well.
Yes. Ooh, I love that. Wait, is there?
Yep. It was just.
No. You're looking at the Dan Slott omnibus.
Oh, is that the Dan Slott omnibus?
That's the Dan Slott. Yeah, because I was a little confused. I'm like, why is the Thing's marriage to his wife on that cover? That happened in the previous volume. So yes, if you do want more Fantastic Four, we do have the previous volume, Dan Slott's volume, in one massive hardcover omnibus. That one is a fun one. There's a lot of major moments. Obviously, you're getting the wedding of the Thing. You're going to get some crazy moments with Dr. Doom. You get a lot of fallout post Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars in there. So it is a great one. But I feel that one is a lot more continuity heavy. So for you hardcore Fantastic Four fans, that will tie them more directly into the Marvel Universe as a whole. If you want more of a standalone Fantastic Four, you want the Ryan North.
Yeah, that was my bad. Is I'm looking at what I ordered. Yeah. I didn't order the Ryan North one because I have all the singles.
Yeah.
I did order the Dan Slott one. I'm like, wait, why didn't you talk about the direct market one?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is a beautiful Alex Ross.
It just says direct market trade on my list, or Fantastic Four trade direct market on my list. So,
yeah.
My bad.
No worries. Yeah, I want to show that cover off. That is a beautiful, beautiful cover. And it hits all those key moments. You have the two greatest characters in Marvel, Namor and Dr. Doom, on there on opposing sides. It's good.
Are you trying to get a rise out of me saying Namor is one of the greatest characters in Marvel?
I will fight someone over that. Namor, who appeared in Marvel Comics #1? Who appeared in Marvel Comics #1, Kyle?
Not the same Namor we have now.
What do you mean? That was Namor McKenzie himself. Someone in the comments back me up. Namor is the best. All right. We have continuations of Kelly Sue DeConnick's incredible FML. We're not going to translate what that acronym's for. And Galactic from Distillery. Kurt Pierre's kicking butt on this, so I have to point it out. I love the Empire Strikes Back style homage cover that Maxi Dallo is doing on cover D. But let's talk about crazy manga titles, because that is one of my favorite things to dive into. One of these days, we're just going to do a show that is just crazy manga titles. But let's talk about Get Married So I Can Curse Your Firstborn and Finally Be Free. Kyle, I know you were excited about this, but can I take this, or do you want to take this?
Absolutely. But you guys, it's an interesting manga. When I go, Mathias, I've got a manga we have to talk about, and it's a cat girl manga, and he loses his mind. So we're both in on this. This is going to be a great book. I'll let him talk about it because he can pronounce the names.
All right. So I'm excited about this because I recently saw a meme. I mean, I know there's my basis. I saw a meme. I saw a meme that had a similar joke, and this takes it so much better. I cannot wait to read this. So I'm just literally going to read a chaotic and etchy romantic comedy about a god out to curse a family and the unfortunate guy who falls for her. Because Kuro, a black cat, is a god of fortune down on her luck. She's turned into a vengeful god against her will, and the only way to return her former status is to curse 7 generations of the Nishikori bloodline. She's close to being free, but to get there, she needs to make sure the 7th generation actually gets born. Let's face it, modern generation not having a lot of kids. That means finding a match for Nishikori Kotaro, which is harder than you might think, because Kotara is tragically unpopular. Not only that, he insists that the only woman he wants is the cat-eared Kuro herself. I love this. I love the idea that the only way this god gets uncursed is to make sure there are continuing bloodlines in an era from a region where we're notoriously worried about future generations populating. And the idea that on top of that, it might end up being you that has to birth your next, bloodline curse. It's hilarious. Look, you can already see the ridiculous cover to volume 2 on there. This releases February 17th. Look, I am all for anyone. There's never a kink shame for me, but 7 Seas Entertainment often does a lot of mature books. I'm 100% in. This is ridiculous to the degree that I need it.
Yeah, this totally feels like the manga version of a Japanese dating sim.
I think that's a failed dating sim, though, when our protagonist only wants to go after the host.
Right. I mean, you're not good at it. Like, whoever's playing it's pretty bad at the game.
Yeah, but this is like if The Bachelor, gave the rose to the TV show host as opposed to one of the women, in my opinion. And look, that would be the greatest season of The Bachelor ever. Why is somebody not already falsifying this reality TV show? God, man,
I don't agree. I don't approve of generative AI, but if somebody made that, I'd be all right with
it. All right, man, we're going to keep manga on the topic today, too, because one of my favorite manga series ever is getting a super legacy edition box set. We've talked about it already that Ghost in the Shell is coming back hard with an uncensored version for the first time in the US. And this is the way I want to own it. A box set of hardcovers by Shiro Masamune, one of the greatest mangaka out there. This is going to collect the uncensored versions as they originally were in Japan, translated to English, premium slipcase, hardcover, new artwork, new posters, giant 10-inch wide poster in there. This has the original Ghost in the Shell from 91. Ghost in the Shell 1.5, the human error processor from 2003, very classic Dark Horse release here in the US, and man-machine interface number 2. This is unbelievable. This is everything you need from Shiro Masamune. The only way I can get happier is if I can get Appleseed out of this, but.
And I will say this, if your only experience with Ghost in the Shell is the Scarlett Johansson movie, check this out. This is, it's a little bit of an expensive lift at, what is it, $140? Yeah. But most of this stuff is available through library systems if you want to read some of it before you invest in the big book or invest in the big box set. But check this out. This is one of the most important manga of all time. One of the most influential manga of all time. So, if you call yourself a manga fan, you definitely need to have read it.
Absolutely. I mean, and it is one of those crazy things where I will say, look, Dark Horse, who had the rights to do the English releases of Ghost in the Shell for ages, they put out good quality stuff. I am in no way faltering them. I still love Dark Horse for their amazing quality of art books, but this is something that Kodansha had to do. And having seen them already do this with Akira, I have absolute faith that this is going to be amazing. So I am very excited on that. Now, keeping it with a Japanese theme, but moving away back over to Western comic releases. The other big theme of this week, it's reprints, it's facsimiles, it's manga, and it's the greatest kaiju of all time, the king of monsters, Godzilla. And the first one we got to do is a follow up to the as of yet unreleased Godzilla number 6. Godzilla number 6, we already have it spoiled. We know Godzilla dies. So what could happen in Godzilla of the Kaisei era number 7? Well, Tim Seeley has put together an all-star team of people to destroy the kaijus. They've accomplished their mission. They've eliminated Godzilla. Or have they? It looks like we have the return of Godzilla. And he's not going to be as he was. Get ready for a massive rebirth of Godzilla in a most unexpected way. You can read the solicitation. You'll get a good hint of what that is. I don't want to be the one to spoil it outright, but I'm going to say this is going to be worth ordering. Already, Tim Seeley is knocking this out of the park issue after issue. I have been loving this series more than any other Godzilla releasing, and we are in a golden age of Godzilla. But this issue, whew, big. A lot of great covers. I mean, I love all of them. Personally, I really love the 1 in 25 just because it has the Japanese Gojira down like it was a proper movie poster. But that's not something every store is going to get. So I do have to advise, if you're interested in it, reach out to your local comic shop, see if it's available, see how much it's going to cost, because being a ratio variant, it is not likely going to be cover price. But Godzilla doesn't stop there today. Godzilla also reaches a big new climactic event in the Marvel Universe. After Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe, we're going to see Godzilla propelled into space. Because clearly that seems to be the answer of the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and so much more, is just kick it back into space. You know, Galactus, who cares? Kick him into space. Oh, the King in Black, who cares? Kick him into space. Clearly someone else in space can deal with this problem. It will never come back to Earth. Or will it? With Godzilla, we have the Infinity Roar, as Godzilla is kicked into space and meets up with Null, the god of symbiotes. And we now have a venomized Godzilla wreaking havoc through the intergalactic Imperial forces, the Shi'ar Empire, the Skrulls, the Galactic Empire Wakanda. They will all have to deal with a symbiote infused Godzilla. Tell me that doesn't excite you, Kyle.
I would much rather have a Flash Thompson infused Godzilla, anti-Godzilla, or Agent Godzilla.
Agent Godzilla,
but, no. Listen, I've been saying for a long time that the best Godzilla is the Godzilla with the symbiote suit and fighting Spider-Man. But I'll be honest, I never thought the day would come where I'm like, enough. I'm a little over the Godzilla, all the Godzilla. Like, I want Godzilla, the Kaisei era stuff. It's so much better than everything else.
It is. I won't deny that.
This is going to be a lot of fun. But, like, once we're done with this story, can we, like, let Godzilla have a break and do, like, you know, Venom-infused Mothra or, you know, Venom-infused Godzuki? Somebody, like, you know, King Ghidorah with you know, the spirit of Null inside it.
Mandarin ring.
Let Godzilla sleep.
Like, is all I'm saying.
Give him a break. He needs to go on vacation. He needs to go to the beach in Hawaii and take a chill pill.
You know, that being said, look, I do agree Godzilla needs a break, you know, outside of the Kaisei era stuff, where he does have a break, being momentarily deceased, at least momentarily.
Right.
But I will say, I would totally follow this up and read the Marvel Swimsuit Godzilla edition.
Sure, if we do something fun again, where it's like like something like that, where we're bringing in more of the characters, but Godzilla is not the only kaiju from the Godzilla stories.
Yes. You know, that is
every publisher is using Godzilla right now, and it's been great to see this popularity of Godzilla surge. I've loved Godzilla a long time, but okay, can I get King Ghidorah versus the Fantastic Four, where each member of the Fantastic Four has to take on one head? Right? Or, you know, Avengers versus,
does Ghidorah have 4 heads? I think King Ghidorah has 3 heads, right? Or does he have 4? I'm not.
yes, well, it depends on which one you're using at this point, because some of the action figures have 4, some of the action figures have 3. And let's be honest, what's the Invisible Girl really going to do against King Ghidorah? So,
no, we don't talk down to the Invisible Woman. The Invisible Woman, first and foremost, is the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four.
Anyway, but let's get some of the other characters in here, and then at the end we can bring Godzilla back, and it's like, okay, Null is here, Shriek is here, Venom is here. We've got all of the kaijus with symbiotes, and do something. Let's just take a break from Godzilla because everybody's Godzillaing me to death.
All right, but then that's where I have to show off this beautiful Mothra Captain Marvel cover.
Yeah,
women of these 2 universes.
I'll be honest, this is where I got the idea, because like now I want this.
Yeah. All right, more fun things hitting second printings. Hulk Smash Everything. If you did not watch Hulk Smash Puny Dinosaurs, now's your chance to grab it. I really think they should have had more dinosaurs on that cover. Same with Infernal Hulk, getting reprints of issue number 2 and issue number 1. Had a reprint last week. Issue number 3 all set up to continue this dark demonic tale of the Hulk. Then here's a unique one I want to point out, because once again, this is one of the fun things that we get in the modern era. In a post-Diamond era, though Diamond did sometimes have these things, with Penguin Random House, we have access to incredible prose novels, Star Wars prose novels, classic writers. But as we're preparing for the newest spin-off of Game of Thrones, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, George R.R. Martin's Tale of Dunk and Egg gets a new available option in your store, because you know how I was introduced to the great Sir Duncan and Aegon Targaryen? It was
I don't know who those people are.
What? Oh, you don't?
I don't know who those people are.
Ah, well, you will want to watch A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, or perhaps order this. But roughly 80 years before a Game of Thrones started, before a young boy was pushed out a window, or even the Targaryens were dethroned by the Baratheons, there was a young hedge knight who would shape his destiny in Westeros. George R. R. Martin wrote The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, otherwise The Tales of Dunk and Egg, in 3 short stories that were part of fantasy anthologies. And these came out around the same time as he was doing The Tale of Ice and Fire. But my favorite thing was, back then, Devil's Due Publishing and eventually Marvel Comics, all the way up through Amazon Comics, published these tales as comics. Written by George R. R. Martin with Mike S. Miller on artwork. They were amazing tales of an era without dragons, pre-Game of Thrones. And now we are going to be getting this as a brand new series on HBO starting in 2026. And if you have not read these tales, they are amazing. And here's my favorite part. For all you George R. R. Martin fans complaining about waiting on book 6 of Song of Ice and Fire, this is complete. The entire story of Dunk and Egg is complete, and you can get it all in this book. You don't have to worry about him passing away before it finishes. So I love this tale. This is a great one, so you can see this. There are additional formats of this. You can get hardcovers still, but I do like this photo edition to prep everyone for the new series. Did I sell you on it, Kyle? Are you interested in discovering who these new knights are? Not at all. Not remotely. All right.
Okay. My sword and sorcery deal is this: if I can play the characters in Dungeons and Dragons, I'm in. I'm not a big sword and sorcery fan, but my big concern is, and this is why I will likely pick up that book. I don't know that Game of Thrones can live up to the hype of what Game of Thrones has been built up to, right? I've never seen it. I've never watched a second of it. I didn't have HBO when it started. And then by that point, it was like this big thing where it could never live up to, this is the greatest show ever made and ever featured a dragon. No, Peach Dragon still exists, guys. And then by the time it was like, okay, maybe I'll get around to watching it, it's relieving Starbucks cups and scenes, and it's like they're phoning it in. So I have very little interest in the universe. However, something that takes place 100 years before all of that Michigas, right? Something that takes place way before that is sort of tangentially related is of interest only in as much as, okay, now you've got a chance to sell me on something that hasn't already been built up so big it can only be disappointing.
Yeah. And I am really, really excited, I must say, though, that this is something that's completed. There is no room for the showrunners to try and make up. I mean, they have always the ability to make up content, to add and fluff things out. We see that with House of Dragon because, well, the story is complete on that as well. It was done more encyclopedic than it was prose. I think that the Tale of Dunk and Egg, which has been renamed to Night of the Seven Kingdoms, has that incredible story already plotted out.
And
I
think
hope
those
sequential art.
I do think those yellow and red covers that we saw are gorgeous and look great on a shelf. So there's also that.
Absolutely. So, moving forward, let's talk about something to get everyone ready for Valentine's Day. We are already placing orders for books that will be releasing in February. So, well, we have a number of horror themed Christmas tales that are currently coming out. Ignition is getting us ahead with Love Ignited, releasing February 4th, just in time to be ready for Valentine's Day. We are getting a romantic horror anthology and the very first anthology from Ignition Press. And to bring it, they brought some of the best creators who do horror anthology. Look at this amazing B cover by Martin Morazzo. You likely know him from Ice Cream Man fame. But we're going to have infamous Patrick Horvath doing some writing. And that doesn't stop there. We have Chris Burnham of Doom Control, Morgan Beam of Author Immortal, Rosa Ekdahl of Think Tank, Olivia Dufault of the TV series Legion, and Danny, who's currently just wrapped up Universal Monsters The Invisible Man. And that is not everyone that is on there. I am excited for this. And I mean, it's Patrick Horvath. I don't think Patrick Horvath has done anything that has failed in his entire time in the comic book industry.
It's true. Although I will say my pick on this one is the David Tolasky cover, which is the C. It's the 1 in 10 variant. So not every shop will get it, but it just reminds me of those novels like when I was growing up that my grandmother would have, like, you know, next to the couch. She's like, don't look at that. That kind of gives me that sort of vibe, and I think it's a fun way to take a horror anthology. So shout out to that. This is also a big week. There's a lot of Ignition Press out this week.
Indeed.
Or on FOC this week. So
we don't have Daniel Crary here.
Well, you know, Ignition Press last week when the data came out from Managed Comics and Comic Shop Assistant, you know, they were in the top 10 publishers, and that's huge. And a big week like this where there's a lot of titles means that there's a lot of interest. So it's showing that it's working.
Absolutely. I love it. I mean, I think that Ignition is doing everything right. I am very appreciative of them, and I am excited. And we'll be talking about another big new #1 from them soon.
Well,
but first,
and there was some big news this week about Jeremy Hahn's The Beauty on FX as well. So, like, there's a lot of energy going that direction right now.
Yes, I love it.
Some of the first screeners are out there.
Ooh, I'm going to have to beg someone for that. But meanwhile, TV show that gained a lot of success on Disney Plus that we all are hoping comes back for a second season. The character has never slowed down. Mark Spector. The Moon Knight was the Fist of Khonshu. Now we get a relaunch series with our same beloved team of Jed McKay. It is Mark Spector Moon Knight getting a relaunch. I hate to say it's kind of old hat at this point. It's going to be the same fun with a brand new relaunch. But if you were waiting to hop into Moon Knight, here's a good, easy way to do it with a new number one. Mark Spector Moon Knight number one. We have the incredible EM just doing this amazing cover as Mark Spector has been kidnapped. Who kidnaps Mark Spector? You know, not only a madman, but the Moon Knight, the Fist of Khonshu. Let's see how this one goes. I think Jed's been doing a great job with this series. I just don't see a reason to relaunch it, but hopefully it does give people an opportunity to hop on. Now we didn't take too long on this, so let's dive direct. I mean, let's talk about a few things. So yeah, I want to give Ignition a moment to breathe. Marion Heretic continuing on. If you're not reading this, you are missing out on one of my favorite Boom books. I truly believe this is Something is Killing the Children 2.0. This is great. Every issue is amazing. Like not to slight Werther Deladera, but I think the art is even more amazing than Sick Tick. And I love Sick Tick. So Marion Heretic, if you are not checking this out, please go track down issues 1 through 3 at a store and get your orders in for number 4. Marvel Zombies, adding the symbiote love. I mean, look, the King in Black cannot be escaped going into 2026. He's in the main Marvel universe. He's in the Godzilla Marvel universe. And now he's in the Marvel Zombies universe. As the Marvel Zombies bring it up to another level, Null chose the worst time to come to Earth, but maybe it works out for him. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm behind on this series. So I have 1 through 3.
Yes.
Yeah, I have 1 through 3 sitting over here, and I haven't read them yet. I think I'm going to wait for this issue to start.
I mean, that sounds like a really good way to binge it.
I think I'm going to wait for this issue to start just because this sounds like such a great sort of cliffhanger. Right? Everything about this sounds like it's a great place to, okay, now I'm caught up. Now I get that anticipation. So
Absolutely.
I think that's what I'm going to do.
All right. Feel we've given Ignition enough of a break. They need to dive right back in it. So let's.
You're going to scroll past one of the greatest titles.
Okay,
that
all right.
we don't need to talk about. Only I Know the World is Ending and Getting Killed by Rampaging Beasts Only Make Me Stronger.
That is
Volume
4, mind you, too.
Yeah.
I mean, but do you find that better than My Kitten is a Picky Eater, Volume 7?
Well, it's more words.
No, it is true. It is true. And we must judge a manga by the quantity of words in its title.
It's a great way to know if you're going to dig a manga or not, is if you want to read all the words in the title.
Again, it is why you always want to check out prhcomics.com and lunardistribution.com to scroll through on your own, because perhaps there is something that you will love that we didn't talk up, or continuing series you might not already be on that you might discover and want to track down. In fact,
and before we get to Ripcord, just quickly, Punisher Red Band number 5, it's 5th issue, but there is a Dole variant that is going to be a polybag that is just incredible.
I wish it was not a ratio variant. It is so beautiful. I want to order 1 million copies because, as you see from the main cover, Punisher is up against not only Kingpin but Tombstone, and that is a battle I want to see.
I don't see a ratio on here.
The Dolly
Do you know what the
cover
ratio is?
Is the ratio. It is the 1 in 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just need to know if I need to up my order.
Yeah.
I think I need to order 3 more copies.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I get to see the perception that allows me to see what ratio it is, being a retailer. But for your average person, you're going to look for that star right there where it says incentive variant.
Oh, there you go.
And that will inform you that that's where you want to reach out to your local comic shop. You can always message us, message me directly, and I will take the time to get that research information for you, regardless of which comic shop you're shopping at. I know I can tell you firsthand, comic shop owners and retailers can be busy people. So if you don't get a response, I'm happy to help out your shop by getting you the information so you can then place the order appropriately at your shop.
Yep, my shop is going to make me make up the difference between the normal number of issues they order of Punisher and that variant. So I will happily do that.
All right, let's talk about a new Ignition #1. Let's talk about Ripcord #1. New Cullen Bunn tale about a world where a drug is sneaking its way through the market. Unfortunately, this drug, it doesn't make you lack pain. It doesn't make you relaxed. It doesn't make you calm. It makes you a hardcore murderer. It makes you lose your mind and want to kill everyone in the vicinity. And as if Australia didn't have enough things that already wanted to kill you, this drug is blowing up there. Unfortunately, our protagonist's sibling has fallen to this drug, and she's trying to track her down and save her. This is a great comic. Cullen Bunn in Australia, dangerous place. The artwork on this is amazing. I have the Ash Can, which is in stores now. So reach out to your local comic shop, see if they still have the Ash Can for Ripcord available so you can go and pick it up and give it a read before you finalize your orders this Monday. This is an awesome comic. Like, oh man, I just, there's pages I wish I could show you in here, but the artwork is beautiful. I love the tones of this. This is going to be proper Cullen Bunn haunting with some high action.
I'm noticing a trend. Ignition has several books where something happens to you and you become a mindless killer. I think we need to check in on Jeremy and some of the other editorial staff there at Ignition and make sure they're okay.
It is a deep cry for help.
Yeah, and by the way, every time they do a book like that, they've been fired. Murder Podcast, this, the Roots of Madness even is fantastic. So, again, I'm not saying they're doing a bad job of it. I'm just saying, hey, are you guys all right?
Yeah. Obviously, I got to point out Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You, Volume 6. I've talked it up enough on the show. It is one of my favorite manga ever created. Hands down, one of my favorite ones ever created. Jinuishi did a great job also starting this comic on Twitter. So, Volume 6, things start to get a little bit more revealing. So, pay attention. Then, here's a rare one. I don't get to talk about a lot of kids' books from IDW, but Sonic 84 caught my attention, especially because my son was the one that dragged me to all 3 Sonic movies in theaters. I enjoyed them, and if you got a chance to see Sonic 3, you saw the big reveal at the end with Metal Sonic and some other additional characters that are preparing us for Sonic 4. Now, this is a fun one because it deals with Metal Sonic and one of our other characters you see on the cover, and Bell. So we get everyone. We get a Dr. Robotnik team up with Sonic the Hedgehog to track down Metal Sonic with the aid of Bell, Sage, and others. This I think is going to be a fun one. It will be a unique story, and I think it is a little bit relevant with where we currently are for fans who've been enjoying the Sonic movies. So just like when we got to see a lot of shadow content appear when movie 3 hit theaters, I think this could be a little prep work for those of us waiting for Sonic 4. All right.
I want to take a minute and call out something I didn't think I would like, which is Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was going to be for me, and I really get angry when I look at the trade dress. The design is not fantastic, but the book itself is.
Yes.
I was after it's Doom is going to be the Sorcerer Supreme, and who is the Sorcerer Supreme? I was getting tired of playing that game, and then this series hits, and it's like, all right, I'm back.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed #1.
I'm not gonna lie, I like Prominix's cover, which was the promo art where everyone's wearing the infamous robes of Doctor Strange. I can never remember what the name of the robe is. I'm sure you've got this.
Oh no.
Yeah, but everyone's rocking it there in that promo artwork. Obviously not what came to fruition because we know The Scarlet Witch is our Sorceress Supreme. I'm shocked that they didn't alter the name last minute from Sorcerer to Sorceress Supreme, but perhaps we can do this in a non-gender defining
The
title.
Cloak of Levitation.
The Cloak of Levitation. It doesn't have a proper name. Really interesting, but some great.
What,
I
I mean,
mean,
like Charlie?
yeah, I was hoping, Charlie, the Cloak of Levitation. You know what? Having that little comma there changes it. It's from now on for me forever. Charlie, the Cloak of Levitation.
Headcanon accepted.
I love every single cover on this book. It drives me nuts. I'm going to be sad to inform you, none of these covers made it into the top 10, but I love every single cover of this book, and I almost put all of them in there. From the incredible cover that I already mentioned that Promenade did, Frizen's cover, amazing. If you look at Ferrari's, is haunting as you have Hela and the gate being made up by the Sorcerer Supreme. You have this unbelievable Nimit Malavia that just looks like a stunning tarot card. Russell Dodderman, like every bit of this, every single. Is there a cover you don't want on that, Kyle?
There's one.
Is it the Promenade?
No, it's the incentive. I just don't want to have to jump up to meet the incentive.
That's fair. But it's a beautiful cover.
I want it, but I don't want to have to order like a dozen extra copies for my shop.
Yeah. Well, all sorts of fun stuff. Now, here's a manga adjacent piece. You likely know Spy X Family, and you likely know that Spy X Family is normally a Viz manga release. Tokyo Pop, however, is releasing scratch cards, and the one that excites me is the activity book. An activity book so you can participate in the fun of Spy X Family, the super popular anime and beloved manga series. Here you can decode, do mazes, have games that will be fun, and I think they're fun for all ages. So this is an interesting one. Like we get to see this with Marvel and DC characters thanks to so many wonderful licensors. You don't see that often with manga. So I think this could be fun. It could be an exciting way to get some kids into manga, or vice versa, to get some manga fans and anime fans to try doing more stuff with physical medium, which I will always adore. All right. I'm a huge Lower Decks fan. I don't know if you're a big Star Trek Lower Decks fan. I mean, for anybody who pays attention to my Moopsie hidden back here, Lower Decks is great. And it bums me out that we don't have any more seasons of Lower Decks in the foreseeable future. But if you need some great Lower Decks fun, Star Trek Shaq's Best Day and Worst Day is one of the most affordable trade paperbacks you're ever going to get. For only having 2 issues, this is a great $9 trade paperback with Ryan North, the man who is making Fantastic Four fun again, giving us a great tale that ties in not only to the last big Star Trek event, but the last 2 big Star Trek events. You're getting Day of Blood for Shaq's Best Day and Lore War for Shaq's Worst Day. All sorts of fun set in the Lower Deck universe with those characters. Yeah, it's good, and I love that it was nominated for I guess I was the judge who helped nominate that book for Eisner for Best Single Issue One Shot. It was not the one that won it, but it was definitely deserving of its nomination. So that is fun. But that is all I have.
There's one more, and I think they're on PRH, which is the Twilight Zone.
Yes.
It's Twilight Zone number 4. It's my brain just went blank on what the words I was going to say was. Nate Powell, written and drawn, all of it. But I was going to say it's been really cool to read the Twilight Zone and have it feel like Rod Serling Twilight Zone, right? The only thing I was going to say and add to it, if you're loving the Nate Powell stuff, that when this run is up, whenever this ends, maybe, just maybe, IDW, consider letting the person who's going to be our special guest on the show today have a stab.
I would adore that. I would absolutely adore. He would be an ideal candidate for writing a Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Just throwing it out there. Again, call me if if you need people who have ideas like this, but like you don't. So I'm just throwing it out there. Our special guest on the show today would be a great writer for the next volume of this if Nate doesn't want to do it.
Absolutely. I have to show off two Teenage Mutant Turtles things because, like I said, there's a Godzilla theme. He's in the Marvel universe. He's in his own universe, and he's even in the Turtleverse with the third issue of TMNT Godzilla. We might have our special guest might have a few words about TMNT as well. Not to mention the fact that we have the Battle Nexus continuing on with issue number 4. It is annoying that we have to finalize orders for a 4th issue on a book where we haven't had the first issue release. But that said, I have nothing but the highest hopes for this series. So again, if this is something you're excited about, you want to see every version of the Teenage Mutant Turtles in one book battling out in an epic fight, please let your local comic shop know that you want to continue ordering TMNT Battle Nexus number 4, even though you don't yet have issue number 1. What were you thinking, IDW?
There's one more that I just realized we didn't talk about that I thought for sure we would. Back in print after 25 years, your code name is Jonah. The Choose Your Own Adventure books, they're all coming back into print. They're, the classics that we read as kids, right? Choose Your Own Adventure, make your own ending. Your code name is Jonah. Last year they re-released, what did I have it here? The Cave of Time. They did a retro box and The Mystery of Chimney Rock. In the new year, we can look forward to Codename is Jonah, Who Killed Harlow Thrombey, and The Spy for George Washington, which was the first Choose Your Own Adventure book I ever read, was Spy for George Washington. So those being back in print, again, it's a nostalgia thing for people like us. But again, for those younger readers who are looking to kind of get into sci-fi or looking to get a kind of enhance their reading level, this is great for that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let us venture over to Lunar Distribution. A lot of great things coming out from DC, Image, Oni, Dynamite, and more this week on FOC. So remember, Lunar Distribution, scroll on down to upcoming FOC. Make sure you're on the right date. This is for December 15th stuff. And as we're waiting on our guest still, right?
Yep.
Let's talk about Absolute Batman. Absolute Batman has blown up. Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta have brought a powerhouse that is actually dethroning what is considered normally the number one selling comic book in the industry, Batman. Absolute Batman defeats the main universe Batman in sales and is now getting a 10th printing, which arguably I'm going to call the 11th printing because there was the Batman Day Absolute Batman printing that is not considered part of the numbered printings. So we have a new 10th printing with a color alteration on the A cover that was originally released a little over a year ago. And we have that, or a little over 2 years ago. Oh my God. Absolute Universe has been strolling on for a while. But then we also have Absolute Batman #1 getting a new cover by In-Hyuk Lee that just really reflects how massively wide and big this beast of a Batman is with his giant, wide-chested battle axe.
Right. In the last hour, I complained about underprinting on stuff. This is one of those where we're on the 10th printing because every printing keeps selling better than the previous printing. Like, this book just will not stop. So as much as I was kind of bemoaning the way they handled Captain America, I'm celebrating this one. Because, again, you don't get to 10 printings without having done something incredible. And that's what they've done here with Absolute Batman.
In fact, the only other titles I can name that have hit that many printings in the last few years, or perhaps ever, let's be 100% honest, perhaps ever, is the Energon universe in the way of Transformers and Void Rivals. I don't think G.I. Joe's hit it yet.
I think Mark Spears Monsters is there.
Mark Spears Monsters, if it's not there, it's getting very close.
Right.
It's there in printings. It might be around 6 or 7. Obviously, historically, I can say Batman: The Killing Joke exceeded that. But I can't name.
Oh, there are a bunch. I mean, if you consider things like facsimiles and reprints 25 years later, later, like that kind of. But in terms of just consecutive printing after printing, I can't ever think of one.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not where it stops. I mean, it is crazy to think a first printing A cover of Absolute Batman is now a triple figure book on the aftermarket. And likely not something you're going to find in your local comic shop. But that being said, it's deserving. It is amazing. It is an incredible book. I love it to death. My customers love it to death. I'm sure your local comic shop, it has a ton of customers that are adoring this. Scott Snyder has unleashed something that is somehow even bigger than his giant muscle Bruce Wayne. So with that said, how can we make it better? Well, issue 16 continues the epic crossover of Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Batman that started in Absolute Wonder Woman number 15. And just look at these amazing covers. You're still getting the giantness of this. Oh, I love this Frank Cho cover. But yes, now, as if it wasn't enough, we're taking the two greatest DC comics right now. I personally will still put Absolute Wonder Woman above Absolute Batman. I know I'm going to have a fight on my hands with that argument, but getting them both together, you're going to have the highest selling issue of Absolute Batman to date. And that's after banger after banger on this. We had Absolute Batman 13, which introduced Absolute Catwoman, and everyone went crazy on that. Absolute Batman 14, which officially gave us the full Absolute Harley Quinn. Absolute Batman 15. Everyone went insane this week over the first Absolute Joker, which that's haunting. And then we hit Absolute Batman 16 with the big crossover. Now, before I talk about any more Absolute, because wow, it's absolutely a lot, I want to take a moment and bring in our incredible guest. Because, well, he might not be doing anything Absolute. He is absolutely one of my favorite writers currently in comics. He is a man who does one of the greatest podcasts out there, Pulp Today, talking about incredible pulp noir tales. He is the writer of the cartoon series Bat Wheels. He's done amazing comics like Drawing Blood, Savage Tales, Elvira, Red Sonja, and more. David Avallone.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Hey, David. Doing great. How are you doing?
Excuse me. I'm good.
Awesome. So you have an awesome book on FOC this week that compiles a collection of amazing tales.
Thank you. It's Elvira in Horrorland. Is that a trade paperback or a hardcover? Oh, there I am.
Okay. It is actually both. In fact, you can pre-order on Monday, December 15th, the trade paperback for $19.99 or the hardcover for only $24.99, which is, I hate to say, go for the hardcover. It's a better deal.
Yeah, it was such a fun book. It's an idea that when I came up with this as an Elvira premise, I was like, oh, why didn't I think of this first? This is like the most obvious thing to do with her. The basic setup is in the last issue of Elvira Meets Vincent Price, we discovered something that I call the multiverse of movies, which is that every movie, every TV show has its own parallel universe where the story just tells itself over and over and over again. And there's a magical device that allows you to travel into these universes. And Elvira kind of gets caught bouncing between those universes, and she doesn't know how to work the remote and get herself home. So an issue at the end, the cliffhanger at the end of Elvira Meets Vincent Price was that she found herself standing in front of the Bates Motel in black and white. And obviously, in keeping with the Mad magazine of it all, it's not the Bates Motel, it's the Block Motel. Robert Bloch, if you don't know, was the author of the book Psycho. So Norman Bates is Norbert Bloch in this story. But it plays out pretty much as Psycho. And what keeps happening to her in each circumstance is she has to find, when she pops into the new universe, the remote control is no longer in her hand. and it's in the grip of whoever the villain is. And in each story, she has to sort of figure out, so where is that? Where can I find? And it also forces her to confront whatever the big villain is in the story. And just as an example, so the first issue is Psycho. The second issue is The Shining, which honestly, if you've seen The Shining, not to break my arm patting my own back, but I think that issue is the funniest thing I've ever written. Excuse me. I've read plenty of things funnier, but The Shining issue is my favorite one because it's just, I love that movie, and it is also incredibly easy to make fun of. And then the third issue is the Alien issue. The fourth issue is Freddy Krueger, in which she bounces between 3 Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And because I'm a snob, they're only the Wes Craven ones. And then the fifth issue is the very challenging David Cronenberg issue, and that wraps up the series, which is mostly The Fly, but it's got a little bit of Scanners and Videodrome, and a tiny bit of Naked Lunch at the end because I'm very indulgent. But anyway, that's the book. It's a lot of fun. The art is by a really brilliant Italian artist named Silvia Califano. Silvia can handle anything. As you might imagine, there's likenesses on every page of this thing, and she nails them every time. Her Jack Nicholson is hilarious. Her Sigourney Weaver is terrific and recognizable and all of that. And she's also just, you love working with an artist that brings things to the table and makes you look better. In the Alien issue, this might be my favorite contribution an artist has ever made to something that I wrote, just because it was so out of left field. In the Alien issue, there's a panel that's Elvira telling the crew of the Nostromo that they're all going to die, and here's how they can avoid dying, and blah, 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 blah. And in the script, it's literally just panel 4, medium on Elvira, dialogue balloon, Elvira. And when Sylvia sent me that page, the image behind, instead of the background of the crew assembly area of the Nostromo, what's behind her is a Pac-Man screen with little heads of the cast of the Alien in it and a big Pac-Man xenomorph chasing them. And I just fell out when I saw that. I thought that was the funniest idea visually. There's nothing funny about the panel if it's just a close-up of Elvira. She found a way to bring one more thing to it that was really funny and really ridiculous. And she just absolutely knocked it out of the park. I had seen Sylvia's work on IDW's Star Trek books, and I had kind of caught reading those, like how good she was at likenesses and how good she was at, drawing Star Trek to look like Star Trek while still having her own artistic style. And I first worked with her on an 8-page short for a horror anthology, which I contacted her out of left field. And this is a little note out there for comic book writers. You see an artist whose work you like, reach out to them. Tell them you love their work. Tell them you want to work with them. Even if they're total strangers, they might know you. They might be willing to work with you. They might like what you pitch them. She worked for peanuts, honestly, on this anthology, and it got her this Elvira series, which she did 5 issues of, and it went really great. So anyway, that's Elvira in Horrorland. It is followed by Elvira in Monsterland, where the villain gets his hands on the magical remote control. And I don't know when that book is coming out. I think sometime next year.
That will be released February 25th, and we will have an MC on that next year.
Nice. We can talk about that then. But yeah, it's I think Cuba Ball did the interior. Yeah, Cuba did the interiors on that, and he's another just like fantastic artist. I've been very lucky to have people like Cuba and Sylvia to work with. But yeah, Horrorland is a fun romp. I mean, it's one of a review that I wanted to get my entire life, probably. I can't remember who it was, reviewed the Alien issue and said, this is essentially a Mad Magazine parody of the movie Alien that just happens to have Elvira in it to make it a little funnier and a little saucier. And I'm like, just like Mad Magazine is something I have aspired to since I got my parents got me a subscription to Mad when I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, when I was very, very young. And that style of writing, if anything prepared me to write Elvira, it was reading Mad Magazine when I was a kid. And when I came up with the idea for this series and for Monsterland, it really was like I found the way to make Elvira Mad Magazine. Not that the other stories don't have aspects of that comedy in it, but this is here's a movie parody, and here's Elvira in the movie parody. And I wish I'd thought of it sooner, to be honest.
Actually, somebody in the comments just had a really good question. What were your favorite aspects of creating this series?
I mean, digging into these movies I love and going, what's funny about them? What's what is there to make fun of? What is there? I love watching the movies again. I think I watched all of them again to bring myself up to speed on these movies and remind myself what was fun about them and what was great about them. But yeah, it is making those jokes and making those connections. My favorite thing actually was, and I won't spoil a joke here because we're trying to sell this book to people, but in the Shining issue, the thing I worked on the hardest, was what is the all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy joke? What is the thing that Jack Torrance has written over and over and over again that proves to Elvira that he's lost his mind? And it took me a while, but I found the thing, and it's a very deep inside joke about The Shining, about Stephen King, about Stanley Kubrick. Like, it's a very, very deep cut, but I think the fans love that kind of stuff. And I will say this, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of all this stuff. And I know that when I read something and there's a joke or a reference that you would only get if you really know the material, it flatters me as a reader and it tickles me as a reader. So I try to do that as much as humanly possible, where people go, oh, I get that. I know what that is. I recognize that joke. I will say, if I think I asked the editor when I handed in the script for number 2, I was like, if you've never read The Shining, this is like, or seen the movie, this is the most incomprehensible comic book ever written. Like, what is even going on? But then I kind of decided, I don't know that there's anyone buying an Elvira comic that has never seen The Shining. That would surprise me a lot. So, I mean, because you always hope, you want to do, I always call it the Bugs Bunny paradox, is like, you want to make really great inside jokes, but they kind of have to be funny even if you don't get the joke, even if you don't get the inside joke. And sometimes they're time bombs. Sometimes you do the inside joke and 10 years later the reader watches something and goes, oh, that, or in the case of issue 2, like reads an interview with Stephen King and goes, oh, that's what he was doing there. That's why that's funny. I get it. My favorite example of that is the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. The villains are named Natasha Fatale and Boris Badenov. Natasha Fatale was obviously a joke on Femme Fatale. That's not complicated. Boris Badenov just sounds funny. He's Badenov. I was in my 30s when I discovered there was a famous Russian opera called Boris Godunov. And I went, oh, that's why he's Boris Badenov, because he's Boris Godunov. It's like little things like that, I think, are that kind of stuff tickles me. So.
Yeah, I'm in my 40s when I discovered that today. But I will say, though, I do know somebody who has read issue number 2 that had not seen The Shining prior, and they enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
So my favorite part was the one reference they 100% got was your Dr. Sleepless reference at the end.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there is a
confusing moment. Wait, you've seen Dr. Sleepless, but not The Shining?
Yeah, that's crazy. But and that's the thing. It's like you also kind of try to hope that people like. Because I remember as a kid, I would read that stuff and I would get some of it from context, get the joke. When she meets the character Ash in Alien, I can't remember what I called him, Cinder, I think I called him and it's Ian Holm. She says, "Listen, Bilbo, And, maybe you know that Ian Holm played Bilbo, maybe you don't. And because this is true, Ash mutters under his breath, I also played Frodo on the BBC. Because that's a true thing. And I think Sigourney Weaver goes like, what did you say? And he's like, it's nothing, forget it. But, you just, I like to think that the great thing about doing Elvira books, and it's it's a truism about writing IP as a comic book writer. It kind of is like, all the years I spent consuming pop culture were research for this job. Everything that I know about movies and television shows and books, this is where I get to use it. This is where it gets to come out. And that's nice. I wasn't wasting my time watching these things. They turned into a very strange job in my middle years.
Yeah. And the great thing is, so if you're loving this dialogue, if you catch these references, you are going to love Elvira in Horrorland and Elvira in Monsterland because they are filled with references like that. But it's not just the characters that we know iconically from these films that are breaking the fourth wall. Elvira is known for breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Where does that come from when you're writing? Because you reference even the colorist of the very comic you're reading in this content. I mean, it's not uncommon for fans of Elvira, but how does that come about when you're writing?
There's a great long... I was trying to think about, before, Elvira predates Deadpool doing it. Bob Hope predates Elvira doing it. I think the earliest fourth wall break I can think of in a movie is Groucho Marx. There's a scene in Horse Feathers where Chico is playing the piano and Harpo is playing the harp, and Groucho walks up to the camera and says, "Why don't you all step out into the lobby until this thing blows over?" If you came here for the comedy, you can go get yourself a popcorn while the musical interlude is happening, because obviously this is not interesting to you. So comics have been doing that. I mean, you could argue that Shakespearean soliloquies are a fourth wall break, because who is Hamlet talking to? who is Richard III referring to when he looks out at the audience at the beginning of Richard III and says, "Now is the winter of our discontent"? Who is he? He's addressing us, seemingly. So there's a long history of that stuff. The tricky part is to only do it you can't do it on every page. You can't do it constantly. You got to prove you got to pick just the right moment for it to. And I have to say, thinking about it, it's not something that I sit down to write these and I go, okay, in what scene is she going to do it? It's more like as I'm writing it, you hit a moment and you go, here's where she would say something. What's happening is funny enough, weird enough, whatever enough, that here's where she'll do it and break the fourth wall. In my first couple of Elvira comics, I have her break the fourth wall. One of my favorite things in comics in the 21st century is the inside front cover recap. Because when I grew up, people would have to recap. The characters would be recapping the last comic in the most awkward way possible. Cyclops and Xavier are getting off the X-jet, and Xavier is saying, "So as I was telling you on the jet, Scott, now that we've defeated Magneto last week in New York, we're here to meet with my," it's just like the most awkward exposition possible. So now you get to do that on the inside front cover. But in the first couple of issues, I had Elvira do it. And the second time she does it, she says, "Tell Avallone I'm not doing this, this exposition stuff. I'm not here for exposition." So that was one of the earlier fourth wall breaks. In the first issue, she's running. And as she's running, she's looking out at the audience and saying, "I bet you pervs wish you were watching this in slow motion." Because that's the Elvira joke. And that's the... I always say I get frequently complimented, which is very nice, on how well I capture Cassandra's voice. And I always say the same thing, which is she created a character who's so vivid and so well defined that that's actually pretty easy. And in fact, the only reason that the audience goes, oh, that's just what she would say, is that they know just what she would say. You know what I mean? Like, the audience is so familiar with Cassandra's voice and with the Elvira character that when I do it, they're like, oh yeah, I recognize that. That's the character I love. That's what I like. Every once in a while, I'll read something that I wrote for her, and I'm like, yeah, let me move this a little more into the Elvira space. Let me make this a little more like something she would say. But that's the job with any IP. You go under the hood and you say, why does this work? Why do people love it? What makes it funny? And then you try to do that. You try to do what the fan of the thing will like. Every once in a while, you hit a thing where you go, this is a flaw that's always kind of existed in this IP, and I can tweak it just a little bit and make it better. But that isn't the case with Elvira. There's no flaw in her conception of the character or in the stuff that she's done for me to like go, oh, let me change this. It's like, no, it's perfect as it is.
Well, on that note, obviously Elvira has talked to you in this comic.
Yes.
But I'm curious. Obviously, Elvira is the actress Cassandra Peterson. Have you talked to her at all when doing these comics?
Oh, yeah.
Involved herself at all in these comics with you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the first couple of series was the interaction was mostly I would write things and send them to Dynamite, and Dynamite would send them to her, and I would get notes back. And we, that's still part of the process. But starting with when the pandemic came and comic shops closed down and all that, they reached out to me and said, we want to do a Kickstarter comic. And Cassandra has expressed that she'd like to talk to you about what it's going to be and what it's going to be like. And she has some ideas for stories. And we got on the phone. We ended up talking for like 2 hours. We have a lot of mutual friends. We have a lot of shared life experience and all that. I'm married to a burlesque dancer, so like I spent a lot of time with showgirls, and Cassandra is an ex-showgirl herself. So we collaborated on that. We did end up using a story that was something that I had cooking around, but she contributed a lot to of ideas to that, which became the Omega Ma'am. And every once in a while, instead of waiting to get a note, like I think Elvira in Monsterland is the one. No, it's not Elvira. Elvira meets H.P. Lovecraft, the most recent one, opens with Elvira having a dream that's a sexual fantasy. And in my first, for various reasons, I made it Elvis in the initial notes. And then I went, who knows what the answer to this question is Cassandra. And I reached out to her and I said, Elvis is good, and you're Elvis is a person you met and spent time with, and it's a natural sexual fantasy for a woman from your generation and all that. Our generation, I should say. But I said, I worry it's off-brand because there's nothing horror about Elvis. And we kicked it around for a couple of minutes, and she said Elvis Werewolf. And I went, see, there it is. I just needed the thing that made it a little more of like Elvis is if it was a Cassandra Peterson comic, it's a dream about Elvis. But it's not a Cassandra Peterson comic. It's a Elvira comic. If Elvira dreams of Elvis, what monster is he? And she went, oh, he's a werewolf. And I went, okay, so there it is. Elvis Werewolf is our opening scene. And that led to a bunch of great jokes, but that's sort of how we interact. If I hit something where I'm like, I bet she has a better idea for this than I do, I will reach out and get her input.
I love it. And I mean, and you clearly, though, know the character so well, you're beyond just writing. You're advising even on Elvira's crossover with Harley Quinn currently on stand.
Yes. That was when that project was announced. I think it's worth, Joe Ryban at Dynamite, before it was announced, was sensitive to the idea that I might be a little like, oh, someone else is writing this. But, it's Jimmy and Amanda who are the big Harley Quinn people at DC. I can hardly begrudge them that DC wants their people writing it. But he said, we will definitely find a way to involve you and get your input because we value it. And they offered me being a consulting editor on it. So I get the scripts from Jimmy and Amanda, and I gently nudge them in a direction or two about Elvira might say this a little differently. Elvira would approach this a little differently. And I'll say this, over the course of, I handed in the notes on the 5th one out of 6. The notes get fewer every time. Jimmy and Amanda really they're dialed in now on Elvira. I think initially they may have seen her as a figure very much like Harley, and I get that because they're both outsiders, they're both very sexual, and they're both shameless in the best possible way. But there are ways in which that expresses itself in the characters that are actually very different. And so I just had to do a little bit of no, actually, Elvira would react to this differently than Harley would. Elvira would have a different feeling about this than Harley would. But it's all been pretty minor stuff, honestly. I'm happy to help. I'm honestly happy to have my name in a DC comic for the first time in my life. That's nice. I will keep pushing for my dream crossover, which is Elvira meets Swamp Thing. Because I think, one, that's funny intrinsically. And two, as great as Harley Quinn is, and as much as they have in common as characters, Harley Quinn's not a horror character. And it's not a horror book. And I think it's more nail on the head to put Elvira in a DC horror book, which they've done. They did in the past. They made her the host of House of Secrets for 12 issues or 11 issues, something like that. But I say this with love. Those issues are not great. And part of the problem is it's not really the fault of any of the creatives on it. It's just the overall take they took was they kept it as a House of Secrets comic, which is it's anthology stories that are introduced by Elvira. And I understand that because Elvira, even on her own show, is the host, and then there's a movie, and she's not particularly in the movie. But I think in my comics, it's pretty clear that Elvira is a perfectly workable protagonist for a whole horror comic. She doesn't have to step back and let there be another story. She can be in the story. And I've always liked that idea. Look, I once pitched a Twilight Zone thing in which Rod Serling was an active participant. Rod wasn't just talking to the audience. Rod was interacting with the people in the Twilight Zone stories, because I thought that he was always my favorite character on those shows, and I always wanted to see more of him and hear that voice more often. So
I love that Kyle, I'm sure, is flipping out because right before you came on, that was what Kyle was begging for, was you writing Twilight Zone.
Oh, that's funny. I did write, and thank you for that, Kyle. I did write a Twilight Zone book that was a very strange book. It was my second comic series ever. And I was just saying to my wife yesterday, it's wild that they let me do it and that they let me do it the way that I did it. And the challenging crossovers, it was Twilight Zone, The Shadow. And that's a very hard thing to do only because the Twilight Zone is sort of the Shadow made abstract. Because what does the Shadow do? The Shadow finds people whose lives are in chaos for one reason or another. And either he turns them, they learn the lesson from him and become one of his agents or one of his allies, or he kills them, or it goes very bad. And the Twilight Zone is kind of the same way. Either you learn the lesson or you get punished by the Twilight Zone. So, in that thing where they're both kind of the same, I originally had pitched them, so in this series, the Twilight Zone, the Shadow is kind of an agent of the Twilight Zone. And they went, oh, no. This is a Shadow. This is a Twilight Zone thing happens to the Shadow. And I was like, but he's the one who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men. What can he possibly... He's a tricky character to have learn a lesson. But again, as I said before, with IP, you open the hood And I looked under the hood of the Shadow and I went, you know, the lesson the Shadow needs? Mercy. Because the Shadow will fill people with bullets. You know, the Shadow's answer to crime is, you know, twin blazing 45 caliber automatic, semi-automatic pistols, which is not actually the correct answer to all of society's problems. So I wrote a 4-issue series in which the Shadow is forced to examine himself from the inside and out, see how he seems to the rest of the world, and under the theme of the book becomes there is no justice without mercy. That's the lesson for the Shadow to learn. But I'd go back to the Twilight Zone in an instant. It's a fun, and I will say, as someone who grew up worshiping Rod Serling as a writer, being able, that voice, the style of that narration, sort of like with Elvira, is so specific. And Rod Serling's voice as a writer is so specific that imitating it is a great joy. And Rod Serling, the writer, uses metaphors in a way I personally would never use metaphors, and uses language in a really, really specific way. So, like, the second issue opens with the Shadow wakes up and he's in the body of Orson Welles about to record a Shadow radio show. And he's looking himself, he's looking at himself in the mirror, and the narration is, you know, on an ordinary day, an ordinary man can expect to recognize the face in the mirror. And but the Shadow is no ordinary man, and he's having a far from ordinary day. And like, that's just a style that's great. You know what I mean? That's a fun way of writing. So anyway, that's one of my oldest books and probably out of print, but you can probably find it on eBay or, you know, in an old comic book store.
Well, that's you always want to reach out to your local comic shop about back issues.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. You are known for taking these larger than life legendary figures and putting them into comics. And you've done more than just Rod and Elvira. You've worked with another classic comic creator on a book called Drawing Blood.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Drawing Blood so we can guide into a recent upcoming book.
Sure. Yeah, Drawing Blood is, when I was a baby comic book writer 11 years ago and just starting out 10 years ago, I met Kevin Eastman at Emerald City Comic Con, and we became fast friends. Again, like Cassandra, it's just that, like, you knock around Hollywood for 40 years, you end up having a lot of the same experiences, knowing the same people, etc. And Kevin and I became fast friends. And about maybe 8 months later, I was at San Diego with him, and he said, out of left field, there's this thing I've been kicking around for years. It's called On the Shoulders of Giants. That's a terrible title. I hate it, but it's the only one I got. And, you know, would you be interested in hearing about it? And let me tell you what it is. And he laid it out for me, and it sounded like such a great opportunity to write a comic that was not a genre you get to write a lot in comics. It's an adult comedy drama set in contemporary times. It's not about, you know, it's not about fighting people in, you know, it's not about people in underwear with superpowers slapping each other around. It's about humanity. It's about creativity. And it is semi-autobiographical, even though the main character, Shane Bookman, is completely fictional. His life has some of the contours of Kevin's life. And so it's about a guy who in the early 90s with his brother, Paul, co-created something called the Radically Rearranged Ronin Ragdolls. And if you're watching this, you can see the 3 ragdolls right there. And they're not named after Renaissance painters. They're named after Japanese animation directors. The really violent one is named Otomo. The leader is named Tezuka, after the creator of Astro Boy. The gentle, poetic one is named Miyazaki, after, you all know who Miyazaki is. I don't have to tell anybody who watching this who Miyazaki is. And some people don't know. I didn't know, honestly, that after Kevin took the buyout on the Turtles decades ago, he took that money and funneled it into a do-gooder publishing company called Tundra. And I always tell the joke that this is true. Kevin, when he was telling this, said, "Yeah, I wanted it to be like when the Beatles started Apple Records, and gave all these struggling artists a chance, and indie music." And I said, "Did no one tell you how that worked out for Paul McCartney? He lost all his money. It went under, and he's like, yeah, people warned me, but I thought surely that won't happen to me. Surely my friends won't betray me like that. Surely the market will step up because everybody loves the Turtles and blah." And of course, what happened was everything went badly, and he lost. I think the figure is $9 million.
I think it's reference on issue 1, right?
No, yeah. It's all in there in Drawing Blood. But anyway, our creator Shane Bookman had a breakup with his brother Paul, stopped doing the rag dolls, sold them to our in-universe version of Nickelodeon is called Kiddyscope, and our story is about Shane Bookman kind of coming back from the abyss of failure after being an enormous success and figuring out what to do with his life. And there's a lot of very fictional elements. His business partner, the inciting incident at the beginning of the story is that his business partner in Siberia Arts commits suicide, and he finds out that he owed a bunch of gangsters a lot of money, and that's why he committed suicide. And our hero has to sort of scramble to placate the gangsters and to keep the creative project he has on the rails and navigate situation with his ex-wife and with all of the people in his life. And it's all drawn from real experiences. Some of it, inevitably, as happens when you're doing this kind of work, some of it is drawn from my life experiences as well as Kevin's. But I'm incredibly proud of it. I think issue 8 of Drawing Blood is the best thing I've ever written in my life. And I recommend people get it. The first 4 issues and we did an in-universe Ragdolls one-shot that is contained within the first TPB of Drawing Blood. But when we were readying the second 4 issues, we wanted to do another Ragdolls one-shot. And Troy Little suggested the initial Ragdolls one-shot was penciled by Kevin, which I was very flattered that Kevin wanted to pencil something that I had written. And we both beat out the story, of course. And Troy Little inked it. And Troy Little draws the Ragdolls in the draw. When we see the Ragdolls in Drawing Blood as hallucinations, they're always drawn by Troy Little. And we went back to Troy to do a second Ragdolls comic, and he said, "I kind of don't want to ink Kevin Eastman again." And we're like, "Why is that?"
Here.
And Troy was like, his layouts are so beautiful. I feel like I'm spray painting over modern art, and I feel bad about it every time. And 2, he said, it's complicated and it's difficult and it's not in my style. He's like, I'd like to do something that's in my style, which is very much like an animation style. It's more simple. And he suggested that we do the kind of comic that would be the spin-off from the Kiddyscope TV show, like a Nickelodeon TMNT animated adventures comic. This like the Batman animated comics that Ty Templeton did for DC when Batman the Animated Series was on the air. And we love that because the whole premise of the series, particularly of the Ragdolls, is the ability to use the Ragdolls to comment on things in the history of comics. So the 90s animation crossover book seemed like a fun idea. Troy had a very kids comic book plot idea that he beat out for me, and then we wrote the script together. And it's a 40-page special. It's so much fun. It's an all ages book. It is. I mean, there's definitely stuff in there for adults, and I'd like to think that all ages can enjoy it, but it's definitely appropriate for children.
Here's the best part.
Yeah.
Is that if for any reason you guys haven't already told your local comic shop you want it, this was on Final Order Cutoff 2 weeks ago, but it still doesn't release until January 7th. So you can reach out to your local comic shop for an advance reorder to guarantee it'll still arrive in time thanks to holiday shipping.
That would be a lovely thing. And, you know, it's, I think that for me, I'll be completely honest. We got the FOC report. I don't think it sold half as well as it deserves to. So let's sell out that first issue, that first printing, and go to a second printing, because I think this book deserves it. I think more people deserve to see it. It's so much fun. And, you know, to reference current pop culture, if your kids love K-pop Demon Hunters, this is that with cats. Literally, this is exactly that feeling and that kind of thing. They're 3 teenage girls. They just happen to be cats instead of demon hunters, and they do martial arts, and they have martial arts weapons and all of that.
Yeah, let's turn this into a book that really does have 100 issues.
That would be great. Yeah.
If you missed out on issue number 1, as David said, you can currently reach out to your local comic shop. They probably already have it in stock to get Drawing in Blood, Volume 1, Spilled Ink. It is an incredible book. It has 4 issues of Drawing Blood, as well as that original radically rearranged Ronin Ragdoll's story. And then at the same time, get your advance reorder in on January 7th release. Big release for 2026. Started out right with the radically rearranged Ronin Ragdoll Adventures number 100. Get the first 99 issues. You don't even want to read those.
Yeah. 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 There are things that we want to do to fill in the blanks. One of the things that was fun, that's one of the most fun things about Drawing Blood for a creator, and I didn't see this coming at all, is that it's a book about comic book creators. So I keep having to create comic book characters that are in universe. And in the 4th issue of Drawing Blood, as an example, he meets a young webcomic creator named Amanda Cavallari, who has a webcomic called GTFO Girl, Get the Fuck Out Girl. And in the trade paperback for Drawing Blood, first Drawing Blood trade paperback, there's a 4-page GTFO Girl comic that was written by Amanda Debert Staggs and drawn by Skylar Patridge, which is delightful. And there's a comic strip of a character called Night Avenger, which is the character that his business partner created.
Yeah, love it. But man, yeah, Drawing Blood is amazing. And then we have issue number 10 will be hitting FOC sometime early next year, correct?
Yes, we just finished work on that. Number 11 is written and I think mostly drawn, and I'm writing issue 12 now, which wraps up the series. The second trade of Drawing Blood, which will have this Ragdolls comic in it also, will be coming, I think, late summer. I'm not sure what the release date of that is. But the individual floppies are great, and they're worth having. And, I'm very pleased with how Drawing Blood has turned out. And honestly, this is not a spoiler. It's just something to think about as you read Drawing Blood. The ending of Drawing Blood is not what it was when we first considered making it, partly because of things that have happened since we started making Drawing Blood in the life and career of Kevin Eastman. So you can see echoes of things in current comic book culture and life in the next 3-4 issues of Drawing Blood. That's all I'll say.
All right, so reach out to your local comic shop. If you haven't already got all of the issues currently out of Drawing Blood, get that trade paperback, Spilled Ink. Obviously, that has your first Ronin Ragdolls in there. So then get your advance reorder in. It was on FOC on December 1st, but it releases January 7th, so there's still time to get your orders in for the radically rearranged Ronin Ragdolls Adventures number 100. And, of course, you can't go on without Elvira in your life. Get those orders in for Elvira in Horrorland before this Monday for the trade paperback or hardcover. Get the hardcover. It's the better deal. And You get to do it again in February with Elvira in Monsterland. But that is far from the end of what we're getting from David Avallone. So if you love David and you want more, where can people find you online, David?
I have a website, davidavallonefreelance.com, but I'm actually more active right now on my Patreon. I'm very easy to find on the Patreon. There's a free subscription level. I have a weekly newsletter. And also, one thing to talk about for those of you out there that are aspiring to be in this business, I just launched a couple of weeks ago a serialized book that I will be releasing through my Patreon called How I Make Comics. And it's called How I Make Comics because I think too many people, when they attempt to teach what works for them as what works for everybody. And I am unwilling to do that. I am just telling you my best practices, what I have learned, what I have gleaned from my time in this industry. But if you want to learn how to make comics, that you can, I am teaching what I know, everything I know about writing comics. And if that's of interest to you, you can sign up for the Patreon. There's a monthly subscription level as low as $1. So
there you go. That is a steal of a deal to have access
right?
to David for $1 a month. And there's a free one also, but
Yeah.
$1 never hurts. So davidavallonefreelance.com or on Patreon, David Avallone.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for joining us. I am looking forward to new comics and new podcasts from you in the near future.
Thanks, man. I'm on it.
I normally try to sit out Mathias's interviews, but David is someone who would proudly say, I'm in this business because of Kevin and Peter.
Sure.
Can you confirm how much I'll cry going forward in Drawing Blood?
Oh, so much. Oh my God. So look, I'll tell you, like issues 8 and 9, the process of completing a comic book, you have to reread it a lot to like check the lettering, check the color. Like I cried every time. Like when they're like, here's a lettering proof. I'm like, oh, this is so emotional for me. Okay, let me read the lettering. Let me read Taylor's work and put this thing to bed, and then I don't have to read it again. But yeah, it's pretty emotional stuff.
All right, we'll have to have you back for the next issue on FOC.
Oh, absolutely. Happy to do it anytime.
Yep. And I will just sit here with my microphone muted and go full Kathy, just waterworks.
Exactly. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, David. All right. We only have a little bit of time left, so we got to dive back to Lunar and give us the quick rush of the amazing items from DC, Image, and more. So obviously, Absolute Batman Annual is getting a second printing. It is long overdue. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the top 10, as you could imagine. But wow. A lot of great continuing series. For those of you who are Adventure Time fans, the return of the Hero Handbook. The Enchiridion is destroyed. It's gone. So now Jake and Finn have to create their own version. I think this will be a fun series. Starting in issue 9, this new storyline will develop, and we will get to see how Jake and Finn determine the future generations will be heroes. A big one for me, Archie Valentine's Day special. Remember, we're placing orders for things that will be there in time for Valentine's Day, though this one comes out in January. Holly Golightly, the gal behind Tarot and Broadsword Publishing, does some amazing work at Archie, and finally they're letting her go full-flung with writing the entire issue of this Valentine's Day spectacular. And how are they doing it? They're doing it K-pop Demon Hunter style, because that's the other theme here at Lunar, K-pop Demon Hunters. It's A-pop, Archie pop band, with a K-pop Demon Hunter style fighting. I love it. The idea of Betty Veronica, Josie, and more doing a band that, like battles evil. Who wouldn't want that? Well, that was a missed out Riverdale episode.
Yeah, that would have been a crossover that broke the world.
Yeah, I would have been all for that. Bringing it back, Garth Ennis is returning to Babs with Babs of the Black Road of the South. It's like a darker comedic version of Red Sonja. So I always love anything Red Sonja, and I love anything Garth Ennis. So you can't, not want this amazing piece from Ahoy. In weirder worlds of reprints, they're reprinting Grant Morrison's Batman 676. The RIP storyline where Batman didn't really die, because that happened in Final Crisis many, many months later. I don't know why they're reprinting this. Do you have any
Yeah.
clue, Kyle?
I have a guess, but it's not a guess that I would like to articulate because I know there's a lot of people who are going to want to buy this book. I don't want to bash on this in that sense, only because I think they're probably just trying to capitalize on the heat of Batman right now. But that's also a book that's value has skyrocketed in the last, say, 6 or 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's an opportunity for people to get a book that they see as being an important book and jump in on it that way.
I mean, again, value-wise for the story, I'm not really understanding it, but I will totally buy a foil Alex Ross in a heartbeat. So,
well, I think anything Grant Morrison, believe it or not, is seeing this Gen Alpha, Gen Z wants to buy the greatest writers and greatest artists of all time as they come into the world. That's why they're buying Arkham Asylum. That's why they're buying The Watchmen. That's why they're buying V for Vendetta. That's why they're buying all these things, and we have to hurry. But Grant Morrison is one of those people.
Yeah, Grant Morrison's definitely in a height. All right, Catwoman fans. Catwoman's up against the Court of Owls, and as always, more covers than you can shake a stick at that everyone's going to want, including that Tuolote sweater weather cover. I love these, DC heroes in their less than warming cold weather outfits. Critter is back from Big Dog Inc., now distributed through Antarctic Press, which is sub-distributed through Massive
Indies.
So it's just crazy. But we have the trade paperback that was never released through Diamond, that was originally supposed to come out back in May, finally coming to print and in distribution, as well as issue 10 with this stunning, stunning cover by Narcelio Sosa that I think is worth all the entry point. Then we hit cul-de-sac number 6. And those of you guys who are fans of the incredible Tony Fleek's Cursed Mirror covers, I got a direct quote from him as to why there's no cover on issue 6. If you remember, this was originally a 4-issue miniseries. Then it became a 5-issue miniseries. And Tony wrapped all of his covers while it was a 5-issue miniseries. When it expanded to be a 6-issue miniseries, Tony unfortunately didn't have the ability to work on this. No slight, no reason that he couldn't have, other than it was just he was busy. Because let's face it, he's Tony Fleeks. He's huge now. He's doing everything. So in the weirdest way I could imagine Bad Idea taking it, they had a unique idea of stealing some of the most famous art in history to make covers. Yes, Henry Fuseli's classic nightmare image, the original concept of a nightmare right there, and sleep paralysis, onward through Katsushika Hokusai's haunting, yokai cover. You have Edvard Munch. You have Francisco Goya. You have just classic original art, or classic artwork, just classic artwork as these covers. Weird idea, but weirder that this is the first time we've ever seen this, to my knowledge.
I don't know that anybody else could have ever afforded to license that work.
Amazingly, because it's public domain, you're not paying for that license, which is probably why they're doing it.
You're guessing Ganesh is paying someone.
Yeah.
The museums that own them, perhaps?
So I did a ton of research. I wish I could go into this, but amazingly, it is something anyone can do. The only thing you have to do is you have to pay a licensing fee to the person who scanned in or took a photo of that or of that classic artwork, which can be as little as $10 to $60. And there's some that are open in public domain, free access use already.
I'm not saying he paid a lot of money. I'm saying he paid something to someone.
I'm just shocked we haven't seen it before. It was crazy. A huge shout out to the incredible George Mann, who I love to death. His final issue of Star Wars Hyperspace Wars of the Tides of Terror is out at the same time. Issue number 2 of Dark Souls number 1 came out this past week, and it was haunting, even more haunting than the countless times I've lost my life playing that video game. The Darkness continues on with its second issue by Mark Silvestri, writing my favorite character in comics, Jackie Estacado. We have a one-shot that has the Green Lantern Corps go up against Darkseid with the Galactic Slam, part of the DCKO event. Supergirl, actually, I got to go back. Supergirl has an amazing one-shot with the new trailer out. Everyone's going to want Supergirl, and this is just in time with the January 28th release, a one-shot with a top collection of writers, including my favorite Nicole Maines, doing some amazing short story Supergirl tales. As if the Supergirl comic ongoing right now wasn't already amazing, we can get even more Supergirl in January. Henry Barajas' Death to Pachuco gets its penultimate issue with perhaps its hottest cover yet. Sweeney Boo just making that an absolute masterpiece of Zoot Suit era art right there. Amazing book. We have a ton of great high-end sketch covers. If you want to buy original art from your local comic shop, Dynamic Forces offers that as an opportunity, as well as if you want to get original art. Amazingly, Antarctic Press is giving you the blank covers you need for K-pop Demon Hunters. There is a Demon Hunters sketchbook. The entire book, blank, high cardstock sketches, so you can get your favorite K-pop Demon Hunters or whatever Demon Hunters you want on there. Really fun way that presses the questionable line of copyright infringement. Beautiful Dynamic Forces stuff.
Well, they're not calling it K-pop Demon Hunters. They're just calling it Demon Hunters. So you can get one of the K-pop Demon Hunters with Sam from Supernatural and call it a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm going to jump ahead and then come back really quick, because if you needed that question, they have your option, though, of if Demon Hunters isn't enough, they have a K-pop glitter pink sketchbook. Also the same thing. So you can combine these two and truly have a K-pop Demon Hunters sketchbook. Gotta love when they just push for those things. Antarctic Press, knowing how to capture us, even when Netflix is failing. All right. So, two things for Disney fans I got to point out. You want to think of the most iconic images Disney's ever put out? It's their movie posters. A 100-page collectible rip-out postcard set of those classic Disney movie posters, $24.99. Or if you'd like some of the beautiful design artwork for those famous movies, this is an incredible piece, the hidden art of Disney's golden age. They drew as they pleased. I am very excited to grab a copy of this to see some of that amazing artwork out of the Disney archives and in my hands. Speaking of Disney, Maleficent continues on with its fourth issue for more villain fun, thanks to Dynamite. Doctor Who continues to roll on with iconic characters and our newest Doctor in The Prison Paradox. We have a ton of great trades, everything from EC's Cruel Kingdom to, as we just talked about with David, Elvira in Horrorland. Escape from Skull Island starts a brand new Titan series with the classic characters of Skull Island that we love. Actually, I believe that's Legendary. Wow, that isn't even it's Titan and Legendary. There was the trick. There's the trick. Final issue of Everything Dead and Dying comes along as we hit the final third of Exquisite Corpse's first big year. I'm really curious to see which of our assassins is going to survive this free-for-all. A lot of great books. As always, check lunardistribution.com to see them. We get new Gotcha Man one-shots, more issues of Ghost Peppers, reprints of G.I. Joe, and more. Got to give love to I Hate Fairyland because Scotty Young finally figured it out and has made his beautiful covers open order, which is great because everyone's going to want this. If you need more Kong, the unbelievable Alex Cox has his trade paperback from Dynamite, giving us the more classic Monarch era King Kong in The Great War. There's just so many amazing things and not enough time to talk about it all. So definitely take a look. Some brilliant trade paperbacks, some great new printings, some more sweater weather cover that is absolutely amazing. And of course, if you missed out on Ordained, because the announcements are huge now about the upcoming film, and Bad Idea is making sure you're not going to miss out. Ordained #1, which just came out this week, already has a second printing declared at the same time as issue #2. So if you missed out on the #1, you can still dive in and get ahead of the upcoming film. Whew. For those of you who are fans of Red Sonja, I know I am. If you have a little bit of money to spend, these are not cheap. For $100, you can get these deluxe trading card packs that guarantee you original artwork, signed cards, and more. Really fun things. I bought them in the past. I will buy them again. I love these. Worth it alone for the original art, in my opinion. And, your shop's going to love you for giving you Benjamin. I got to point out all these red coat covers. We may be the second part of this storyline in 1909, but it doesn't matter. I want every cover. Look at that. Look at that beauty. Every one of these a masterpiece. The people at Ghost Machine know what they're doing. Now, what's crazier is the people at Titan truly know what they're doing with Conan. As if Liam Sharp wasn't enough, now we're getting even bigger names. Chris Ryle is returning with his artist from Lock and Key, where Chris was the editor. Gabriel Rodriguez and Chris Ryle are doing a Conan tale in Savage Sword Conan. Well, Deadpool co-creator Fabian Nicieza is doing a Conan story as well. Two names I would have never thought I'd associate with Conan, and yet I cannot wait to see issue 12 of Savage Sword. This should be fun. Save Now is getting a prequel issue from Matt Kent's Epic Tale, issue number 0 at Bad Idea. We have a lot of great continuing tales from Disney, from DC, from more. As we mentioned, great Demon Hunters we love. The Winchester Boys are back for the 4th issue of Supernatural. We have Terminator. We have Tama. We have too many things to mention. We have the return of Grail, the daughter of Darkseid, who first appeared back in Justice League New 52 issue 40, is back to battle for Darkseid in DC KO's Titans. I think that's going to be huge. So many great books. So much fun. Wonder Woman, I love this one, is bringing her daughter to Themyscira to be babysat by the Amazons. You know that one's going to be a great one. And man, that David Nakayama cover is something else. But with that all said, if we're going to talk about covers, I think we need to cut to the top 10 because we're running late today and we need to get you guys this. Thank you all for staying tuned. Let's bring it up with our honorable mention. It's that unbelievable Ghost in the Shell Legacy Manga Edition. You are not going to want to miss out on this. This is a big deal. Some of the best sequential artwork out there, and definitely some of the best sequential artwork of Japan. Number 10, it doesn't get sexier than Dick Grayson wearing less clothing than normal, and then you throw him in that cold area to heat you up. Travis Moore's sweater weather cover on Nightwing 134 easily makes it into the number 10. Followed by another sweater weather cover. It's Wonder Woman, because it takes a absolutely powerful woman to wear that little in the Arctic North, protecting those delightful baby seals. I love this Elizabeth Torque piece, and we already know Wonder Woman 29 is going to be amazing with a fun adventures in babysitting, because anytime babysitting happens in the DC universe, it's good. Video game fanatics, you will love that DC KO Green Lantern Galactic Slam cover by Juan Ferreira. This is a beautiful cover that just has all my video game love. And with the Street Fighter trailer out this week, it makes me want this all the more. Then we break away from DC to go Marvel with Godzilla Infinity Roar. Jose Maria Casanova's awesome cover showing the Null symbiote god symbol on his chest. I'm in. Archie's Valentine's Day Spectacular. We mentioned a lot of K-pop Demon Hunter hints there. There's quite a few bits there, but this one, A-pop, not so Demon Hunters, Spirit Slayers. I like it. I think Holly G is going to make this a must-have book. Watch this hit 2nd or 3rd printings. Then Titans 31. I told you we're bringing Grail back. How about a cover where Jared Chu puts Grail front and center? I can't tell you the last time Grail was on a cover, but I want to say it was the middle of the 2010s, probably 2015, shortly after her first appearance. But I think she's going to come back. It'll lead Justice League 40 to skyrocketing in value, and this will be the issue people want on there. Keep in mind, the last issue of Titans already went to a 2nd printing and is in demand because of the DCKO crossover. This will be a must-read. Then we have Love Ignited. Look, I agree with Kyle. That 1 in 10 cover, phenomenal, but that's not one everyone can get. Anyone can order this A cover that Joelle Jones has knocked out of the park. This is the modern meme of that dog sitting there saying everything is fine as the restaurant burns down. This is the romance of 2026. I really hope 2026 isn't one where we're sitting down as the world burns around us. Then Godzilla's back. How he's back, you'll have to read the comic to find out. But returning from his upcoming death in issue 6, issue 7 will be a key issue. And Prasetya does an amazing job with all of our heroes and the revived Godzilla in the background on Godzilla number 7. So what could the top 2 be? Well, number 2 has to be a question of who is taller in the absolute universe. These two literal giants, I think one is 6'7" and the other is 7'2" or something like that. Absolute Batman 16 has the crossover of Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Batman. And it is crazy to see a word balloon on DC that says go to hell, whether there's a question mark or not. So what could number 1 be? Absolute Batman Annual, second printing. Look, the price on the first printing has skyrocketed. Everyone wants that Daniel Warren Johnson cover. So they doubled down. Not only is there a normal and foil reprint of the Absolute Batman Annual Daniel Warren Johnson cover, there's a brand new Daniel Warren Johnson cover with Absolute Batman wielding a flamethrower in normal and foil variants. That has to be our number 1. Everyone's going to want this because it's already a hard book to get. It's already going for money. And now here's a brand new DWJ cover. This is the book to order. Whether you're the consumer or the retailer, you're going to need it. With that said, thank you so much for staying with us. I know we ran late today. Kyle, what else do we have coming up on the EXP?
You've got the original art show later with Nick, where he's showing a Holy Grail. Nancy will have her show at 9 selling books. I will be back Sunday with Blind Bundle Bonanza, which is a fun game that we play where I make blind bundles of comics. Write a riddle. You have to solve the riddle, and you get a discount if you get it right. And then all week next week will be regular shows. And then we're into the holidays. So make sure you stay tuned in for everything. And we will see you all next time.
All right. Thank you guys all for watching. And remember, get your orders in before Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard. And tune back in next Friday for more books on FOC next week.